Hey there, Suzi here. Before we dive into today's episode, I've got something really exciting to share with you. If you have ever struggled to get people to say yes to what you sell, whether it's a product, a service, a program, guess what? It's probably not your product that's the problem. I'm sure it's already amazing. It's much more likely to be the way that you're packaging and pricing and presenting your product that's the issue. Because here's a newsflash for you. People don't buy your product. They actually buy how you present your product to them in what's known as an offer. And here's what we found working with thousands of women. Most women business owners have not been given enough support to create high converting offers that reliably bring in sales and profits. And maybe you can relate. And perhaps you're not sure what to include or how to message it or how to price it or how to automatically build in things like risk reversal or urgency that'll make your clients ready to buy now versus saying things like, oh, maybe later, or I'll think about it, or the dreaded, we'll get back to you. We get it. But not knowing these things is probably the number one thing that's keeping you from making the kind of income and impact that you truly want. That's why Michelle and I are doing something we've never done before. For the first time ever, we're hosting a 2-day hands-on in-person training with a small number of women business owners where we focus solely on crafting your high converting offer. It's called Advanced Offer Creation, and we're deliberately keeping this to a group of just 12 women in a boardroom setting in Sydney so that we can work with you one-on-one. Michelle and I have decades of experience creating our own high converting offers, and we've sold millions of dollars in products and services, and we've helped thousands of women in business to do the same. So we know how to translate our experience into practical advice and support that gets you results. But most importantly, you want our help. And the reason is it can be so hard doing this on your own. And chances are you're super close to what you sell, and that can actually be a disadvantage when it comes to being laser focused on exactly what to feature and what not to feature in your offer. It can be really hard to, as they say, see the forest for the trees, especially when you've put as much into developing and creating your product as you have. It could take you years to figure this out on your own. So if you want to fast track this, head on over to Advanced Offer Creation and apply now. There are only 12 spots available and they will go fast. Michelle and I would love to see you at this 2-day training, and so go ahead and send in your application. Okay, let's get on with the show. Hi, you're listening to the Content Sells Podcast, the show all about how to create content to attract, convert, and keep your ideal clients. Welcome to episode 259. I'm Suzi Dafnis, and my co-host Michelle Falzon is here with me. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hey, Suzi, I am doing really well. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to our discussion today because we are talking about something that might seem small, but actually has a huge impact on your sales.
Yes, it does. And if you've ever made an offer that you felt really good about, you've done the work, you've put a ton of time and effort into creating your product or service, but the sales just didn't come in the way that you'd hoped, or you've got reasonable sales, but you can tell that there were a bunch of people on the fence that you didn't convert, then this episode is for you because we're talking about how you could use bonuses in a strategic way to overcome objections specifically. And these objections are ones that stop people from buying, and they are a way to get more people saying yes to you more often.
Yeah, exactly. Because what we've found is that when people don't buy, it's often not because your offer isn't valuable. It's because they still have some unanswered objections. That is, they're still not 100% sure about something. Something's getting in the way of that yes, whether it's that they worry they won't be able to do it, or that it may not work for their specific situation, or that they don't have the time, or so on. And so there can be many reasons why somebody is holding back from committing to you that has nothing to do with the value. It's just that you haven't convinced them that that value is going to be kind of a certainty for them. So one of the most effective and often underutilized ways to overcome those objections and kind of nudge someone over the line is by using these strategic bonuses.
And we're not talking about just throwing in more stuff into your offer. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes we see is people adding in irrelevant or overwhelming bonuses that actually distract from the offer, and sometimes they even confuse the buyer. But here's the thing, a bonus is not just a something extra. When used well, a bonus is actually a conversion tool. It can shift someone from, I'm not sure, to I'm in, when it is solving the right problem and handling the right objections. So in this episode, we're going to show you how to A, start adding in bonuses if you haven't been using them up until now, and B, how to think differently about your bonuses so that they become objection busting assets, specifically chosen to remove the resistance that your buyer might be feeling, which is, holding them back from saying yes.
Yeah, objection busting. We're going to be talking about that a bit today because I think we're a little timid around objections. We feel like we have to hold back and not mention them. Hey, don't mention them and maybe they won't notice, but they do notice and you do want to mention them. So we'll walk you through the most common objections, things like I don't have time, or I've tried this before and it didn't work, or I'm overwhelmed and I don't know where to start, or whatever they might be for your audience. And we're going to give you some example bonus ideas to overcome each objection so you can start thinking about how you might apply this to your situation. Plus, we're going to pepper in some examples of how we and our clients have used bonuses inside campaigns and launches to do that same thing, to turn hesitant prospects into happy buyers, often without changing the core offer at all. Because remember what we said earlier, the core offer is probably great, but you haven't addressed that objection. But before we dive into the different types of objections and how to overcome them with bonuses, let's just zoom out and look at what a bonus actually is and what it's not. Because we've just sort of jumped into talking about bonuses, but let's make sure we're all on the same page. So the dictionary defines a bonus, among other things, like it talks about, getting paid a bonus at the end of your year when you hit a target if you work for somebody else. But we're talking about this meaning, something given or paid over and above what is due. Like at its heart, that's what a bonus is. Hey, we agreed on this, but I'm going to throw this extra thing in. It's something extra or additional given freely. It can include things like a free gift with purchase. And we've all seen those when buying cosmetics, for example. I am quite partial to the free gift with purchase. And it is actually why I use the skincare brand that I do, because they have fantastic gifts with purchase. But that same approach can be applied beyond selling physical products. If you offer a course or a service like coaching or consulting, or you provide done-for-you services like installing solar technology, or you're a beautician, or you're a naturopath working one-to-one with clients, you can also use bonuses to make more sales. So in that context, we're also defining a bonus as a free benefit or gift that adds value to your core offer by directly supporting your buyer to say yes. And like Suzi said, people often think of bonuses as just something extra, like a freebie you throw in at the last minute. Oh, I've got this lying around. Let's throw that in to make this offer feel a bit more exciting. And sometimes that can work, especially in very transactional or low ticket offers where it almost doesn't matter what the free thing is. But in most cases, if you're selling something more transformational, more educational, a higher ticket, something that requires a bit more of a commitment from your customer, like a course or a program or a consulting service or implementation services, your bonuses need to be working for you on a much deeper level. And this is going to maybe take a shift in thinking from what else can I give, which is sometimes how we think about bonus. What else have I got lying around that I can give? To what's stopping someone from saying yes, and what bonus could I provide to help overcome that blockage that they have? Because one of the biggest challenges is we see people stacking bonuses that are irrelevant and random when it comes to actually overcoming the real objections that are holding people back from buying from you.
And just while we're doing definitions, Michelle, we've explained what we mean by a bonus here. And over the last few episodes, we've been talking about the elements of a high converting offer. And we actually have an episode that that was off the charts popular a few weeks ago, where we went through the elements of a high converting offer. And so the bonus is one of those elements. So today we're going deeper into this element of a high converting offer that is an essential part of having offers that convert. And so it's not just a nice to have. Really listening in today, really understanding how your bonuses can overcome buyer objections is an important part of people saying yes to you. So let's go back to what Michelle was just saying about the mistakes that people make. So if, for example, you sell a done-for-you service that helps people with their Facebook ads and your bonuses include a Facebook guidelines demystified cheat sheet, that may or may not be effective as a bonus. And and I'll explain why. But it might sound good because you already have it lying around, but that's not enough of a reason to use it as a bonus. The simple act of throwing in something or anything extra is not enough in most cases. Your clients might be looking for someone to take all the headache out of understanding the Facebook guidelines and to take that headache off their shoulders, or out of their head, as it would be. So it's kind of a wasted bonus in a way because it hasn't helped to erode the objections that might be in the mind of your potential customer. In fact, a bonus like that could make those objections feel even more prominent in their mind. And in this case, they might be thinking, I don't want to get bogged down with all that fine print. I just want someone to help me get sales faster. Maybe this isn't for me after all. I'm going to pay all this money and still have to know how to navigate these ever-changing Facebook guidelines. No, thank you. So what's happened, or what can happen, is instead of increasing the desire for your offer, these kinds of bonuses can actually dilute your offer. They make it feel bloated or overwhelming or even confusing, and often move you even further away from the sale, which is not what we want to be doing. But when you can make that shift that Michelle was mentioning from what else can I give to what's stopping someone from actually saying yes, what bonus could help with that, everything becomes a whole lot clearer and you start seeing better results. So instead of using up that old guideline cheat sheet or that recording of a training you did 3 years ago as a bonus because it's something you've got sitting on the shelf, you want to start with thinking about the reason most people might still be sitting on the fence, even after you've shared with them all the good stuff they get in your main offer. And make a strategic decision about your bonuses that will neutralize those objections.
Yeah, neutralize, bust those objections. I'm just going to I love all of these kind of terminologies. So yeah, in that example you've just given, Suzi, one of the real objections, like they don't want to know about the Facebook guidelines. In fact, you're creating more objections for them thinking, God, I've got to understand that. But a real objection they might have to you kind of taking care of their kind of Facebook ads is that, like, I'm worried they're not going to get the vibe and the nuance of my market. And this might make my ads ineffective and maybe even more expensive. Like, I'm worried about that. That's an objection. How will they get me, my product, my ideal client, and translate that into ads that are going to do better than what I'm doing by myself, for example? So because you're thinking about what's stopping them from buying, what's stopping them from saying yes, and how can I create a bonus to explicitly deal with that specific objection, your mind might be led to something like this. Like a great objection busting bonus in that case might be that right at the start of working with the client, so come on board, take this package from me, and as a bonus, I'm going to do a deep dive into your customer language. And we call this our brand voice deep dive, and it's valued at $2,000. And this bonus might include you doing an audit of the client's current messaging, some research into their customer language, and then creating a brand voice guide that you're going to use to guide the ads and make them more relevant to your client. But guess what? Extra bonus, your client can take this brand voice guide and use it in other parts of their business. Maybe they can give it to anyone that they work with, any third party, a copywriter, maybe someone in their team, other agencies that they might work with. So there's this really high perceived value of the thingy, but it's doing a really important heavy lifting job. Can you see how someone who is sitting with the anxiety of, I'm worried you won't get my brand or my audience and the ads won't feel like me and they won't get results? Can you imagine how that person is going to feel seen, understood, and reassured by this specific bonus that says, hey, if you're worried about your ads not landing, we are going to give you this extra special bonus. We're going to come in, roll up our sleeves, look at all of your past messaging, do some analysis, create this document so there's this no fail way. We make sure that everything we do really fits your brand voice. And by the way, you can use this with all of your other suppliers. Can you see how it shows you get them and you care about what's worrying them and you care about getting it right, and how this bonus will not only address the objection, but it would set you apart from other cookie cutter ad managers who might be out there without this awareness.
Absolutely. And this gets back to something we talk about all the time here on the show, and that's understanding and empathizing with your customers in a deep and real way. Now, this takes pausing and it takes digging in a bit beneath the surface to get to the worries, the concerns, the skepticism, the fears, etc., that your prospective customer is going to be feeling as they contemplate whether they should buy from you or not. And that might mean solving a smaller problem that's holding them back right now, or making it easier or faster to get a result, or adding confidence, or a way for them to avoid embarrassment or reduce risk, or making it easier to explain or justify to a spouse or a boss, or helping them feel supported and reassured in a way that has them feeling more prepared to take action and move forward with you. Because none of us are logical buyers. We might bring in some logic, but often it's our emotions, our fears, our desires that make the buying decision. So you want to think about your bonus as a way to give someone a nudge in the direction they already want to go, but knowing that something is stopping them from fully committing. So, for example, we have a free workshop that we run periodically called the Profitable Business Workshop. And off the back of that, we are selling a $2,000 membership to the Her Business Network. So one of the bonuses that we give that is a hand in glove fix for someone who's interested in being more profitable in their business is our small business finance course, which is a deep dive. It's a self-paced program that is a deep dive into understanding their numbers. So once they understand the concepts of what is stopping them from being profitable, they need to dig a little further into their numbers. And so that free course is valued at $2,000 on its own. But we also include a bonus which is a pass into our training library, because it's all well and good to get your finances in order and understand your numbers and what you're going to sell at what price points, which are things that we cover in the free workshop. But you also need to really understand your ideal customer and who's going to be buying. You need to understand what resources you might need to implement in that growing business, whether it's technology or team or marketing. So the bonus library has a suite of audio, video, and written resources, not just about the topic of money, but all the essential areas that become obvious and important once you start making money. And again, this bonus is valued at thousands of dollars. And there's one more that I want to mention that's working for us, because as business owners, we want to automate, we want to remove ourselves from the day-to-day, we want to be less hands-on. But we introduced a bonus that is none of those things. It's something that we are testing right now, and it is that for those people who are doing our free workshop, and I'm going off the rails a little bit here, but I think this is going to be useful for you, is that for those who are there live on the workshop, there's a limited time window that closes 2 or 3 hours after the workshop, where they can get what we call a fast action bonus. And a fast action bonus is another way to handle objections, but it's kind of more immediate. And that fast action bonus in our instance is a one-on-one strategy session with me. It's a 30-minute strategy session. Now, normally you can't buy my time, as I don't do one-on-one mentoring or coaching. So this is a way to get access to me in a very unique and limited way. Now, it's not scalable, as I said, and if we were giving hundreds of these sessions away every month, I wouldn't be doing it, or I have a team in place to deliver. But right now, while we're testing this bonus and while that I have the capacity, it acts as a clincher. Why? Because the objection is, great, I see the value of the network. I understand now that I need to price things accordingly, or I introduce new higher priced items. I need to understand that profit is different from revenue, right? But as far as moving my business forward, I'm kind of stuck. I need someone experienced to look at my overall strategy or to help me devise one.
I love it. And, you're thinking, instead of what have I got sitting on the shelf that I can give away, you're thinking, what is stopping someone from buying from me? You're making that empathic kind of understanding of who she is, sitting there watching your presentation. What's actually the thing that's just keeping her from that final, meter to cross the finishing line and say yes to working with me? And, I love the example of the Know Your Numbers class as well, because if I'm, going to sign up for something that's helping me to be profitable, I know, and we know from the women we work with, a lot of people have this thought track running in their head. I'm not a numbers person.
Yeah.
And that is in itself a bit of an objection. I don't want to sign up for this because it's going to be all about numbers and I'm not a numbers person. So how do we neutralize that objection? Hey, we've got this really easy, sort of simplified way for you to understand what all the terminology is and then how the numbers work in your business. And it's not confusing. It's really easy. And once you've done this, of course, you've kind of got everything you need to get going. So you're neutralizing those objections. I love it. And, just to build on some of those great examples that you shared, here are a couple of examples from clients of mine. So for many years, I've worked with Ryan Levesque, who has been a guest on this show. Among other things, for many years, he's helped people create high converting quizzes. And he did that through his flagship program, the Quiz Funnel Masterclass, for a long time. One of the big challenges that people had was once they'd learned how to create the quiz, which was the promise of the course, the tech really held them back from implementing. So they had this inbuilt objection. I love the idea of a quiz, Ryan. I get that it's going to be really good, but I doubt my ability to go live with this quiz. Like, what platform do I use? How do I set up all of the whiz-bang technology? So as a bonus, he included a free subscription to his quiz-making software. That was the bonus. Hey, you don't have to worry about the tech. We've kind of got this software. It does it all for you. It's really easy to use. And that worked great as a, objection-busting bonus. And here's where we went a little deeper. Then we found, because this was a product we launched on a regular basis, we found there were still people with the objection, still with a tech objection. These tech objections run deep, my friends.
Absolutely.
So even though we were giving them the software, the subscription was paid for when they bought the course, we found there were still people sitting on the fence with this objection of, but now I've got to take the time to use the software, to use this tech that's going to make it easy for me, but I'm still not sure I can make this work. I've still got to get in and log in and create the page and load up my images, etc. So he went even further and created this very highly systemized process whereby it was cost effective for him to get his team to build your quiz for you in their software. So tech objection, we had a first bash at it. Here's the software. It makes it easier for you to do it yourself. Still felt that objection was still present in stopping people from buying. And it was like, okay, we will do it for you. So we've completely neutralized that objection. It was a no-brainer bonus that made the offer of his Quiz Funnel Masterclass an awesome success because he'd removed all the blocks someone might feel about the tech and made it so much more certain, and certainty is very important, that they'd have a quiz at the end of the process. They'd invest their money and time and they would get a quiz at the end. So it made it so much more likely they'd get the outcome they wanted. But ultimately the outcome they wanted was, the quiz was just a vehicle to more leads and more sales. So they were pretty sure, high degree of certainty, that they'd get a quiz by signing up with this special bonus. And that's what made it so easy for them to say, okay, I can put down this hard-earned money because I feel confident I can get that result. So the best bonuses aren't just valuable, they're strategic. They've got a conversion job and they've been chosen on purpose to overcome an objection that might otherwise derail the sale.
And I love that example. That is genius. So now that we've clarified what a bonus is and what it's not, and what we've looked at also is how a bonus can be used to neutralize or bust that voice in the buyer's mind that's saying, I'm not sure if this is right for me. Let's go a step further because we want to really anchor this shift in your thinking. Your bonus isn't just there to sweeten the deal, it's there to overcome the objection that is actually stopping the sale. So think of your bonuses not just as nice to haves, but as conversion assets. So they've got a job to do, and that job is to remove the friction someone is feeling when they're right at the edge of saying yes, but something is holding them back. And we know how powerful that moment is. We've seen it time and time again in our own offers, but we've also helped other business owners make their bonuses more compelling. A strategic bonus that directly speaks to a buyer's fear, concern, or hesitation can completely turn around your sales results, just like the example we just heard with people starting up a quiz.
Yeah, and those bonuses don't sometimes just pop into your mind. You have to put time and effort into them. I know I've had, multi-hour long conversations with clients. Specifically, all we spent the entire time talking about was what were the bonuses we were going to give. They're that important. So because your buyer doesn't need just more stuff, what they really need, and this is the story behind the story when you're thinking about your bonuses and the objections, they need more certainty. They need more clarity. They need more reassurance. And when your bonus gives them that, it really does become very powerful. So let's say you're a course creator and you're launching a new program. A common objection might be, well, what if I don't finish the course? Like, I've put money down on courses before and I've never followed through. That is an objection that's it's nothing to do with your product. It might be amazing, but they just know their own behavior is, I get all excited, I buy these things, and then it just turns out to be a waste of money because I don't use it. And you want to understand that and articulate that. Hey, I get it. A great bonus, because remember, we're not just thinking about what have I got lying around or what can I give. We're thinking about what's the thing stopping someone from buying. A great bonus might be an accountability coaching session at key points in the process. If you have if you're selling a coaching program over time, or you might set up weekly pods where students get put into little groups where they can work alongside each other, like other students, and get these accountability partners as they make their way through the course. Or you might build in a live bonus implementation workshop partway through the course that helps people kind of catch up, make progress, get immediate feedback. You could build a bonus challenge into the course, whatever you can think about that neutralizes this objection of I'm not going to use it. How do you give people certainty, more certainty, that they will use it and that you will help them stay on track and that this won't be a waste of money like those last 5 courses that they don't even know the login for anymore.
Guilty.
Me too.
And I know things we're using are online courses and coaching programs and that sort of thing, but everything we're saying here equally applies to your product business. Whether you do solar installation or whether you install blinds into people's homes or you offer surveyancing or whatever, just do kind of the gymnastics to map that across. Because bonuses aren't just for the makeup counters, or for the coaches in the world. Every high converting offer has this element to it. So it might just need some thinking through of what that thing might be. So let's go back to the example that we started on earlier. If you sell consulting services and someone's thinking, I'm not sure this is going to work for my business, maybe your bonus is a one-on-one customization call or a personalized strategy audit at the start of the engagement to really tailor the advice that they're going to get. Remember, as you're thinking about your bonuses, it's about going deeper than what's something extra I can throw in, and instead asking, what would make this feel safer, more doable, and more exciting to say yes to? Another big objection is the time objection. And we've all heard that one. That's when you hear things like, oh, I'd love to do this, but I just don't have time right now. Now, this is a very common one, especially with groups like busy entrepreneurs or working parents. So a great bonus might be something like a fast start guide, which might be a step-by-step walkthrough of the minimal viable path to getting a result quickly. Or it could even be a done-for-you setup of part of the process, like templates or scripts and plug-and-play email sequences.
Yeah, I love that idea. Anytime you can give people a tool or a template or a script, if that's relevant, can be a really awesome strategic bonus. And it's got me thinking about a client of mine, Dr. Claire Zammit of the Institute for Woman-Centered Coaching, who's also been a guest on this show. She helps coaches learn and use her woman-centered approach, which is a completely different way of coaching than the more typical and traditional coaching methods, which have historically been very male-centric. And Claire knows that one of the big challenges her audience faces is knowing what to say right in the moment inside a coaching call. Because they're learning this whole all new way of coaching. Maybe they've been coaching in this old male-centric model for a while. They're a little bit nervous about, well, if I bring this in, I've got all this expertise already. How do I kind of get all these new words in my mouth? And I've got people presenting with all these different problems. How do I kind of get it all out in a way that sort of makes sense? And so, and make it relevant to all these different issues that my client is facing. So Claire bonuses in, as part of her offer, actual scripts that she has written that you can have on hand as a coach during client sessions. And they're all searchable, these scripts, by issue. So if you've got someone presenting with, a relationship issue or a particular, type of inner barrier, you've got at your fingertips the exact words. You can just start off by just reading them off because You know, once you get more comfortable with it, you can put it in your own words.
Yeah.
And so you can put your finger on exactly the right thing to say right away and always know what to say. So can you see how that bonus would help someone who is experiencing that objection at the point of sale of thinking, oh, look, I just don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can remember all of these things, and I've got all these different clients. So they can now, if they've got that objection, hear that bonus and their nervous system goes down. They exhale. They feel reassured, and maybe they feel even excited. Oh my gosh, that just makes it so much easier. Oh, and now I'm not worried, and they're excited to buy. Now, these types of bonuses, they don't just overcome objections, they also increase this perceived value, because your prospect isn't just buying the main offer anymore. They're getting this extra free gift, and who doesn't love free? And they're also getting a path that feels safer, easier, more personalized.
Yeah, great point, for sure. Sometimes that bonus, it becomes the deciding factor. And two people, you and a competitor, might be offering a similar offer, similar price, but the one that includes the strategic bonus that solves the real felt objection is the one that's going to win the sale. And I want to add, it's not just about solving the objection. You don't want to be timid about this. You want to come up with a bonus that absolutely crushes that objection. Like the example that Michelle gave of Ryan offering to build the quiz for you. There is no denying that bonus is going to overcome my fear that the tech will stop me, that I'll do this quiz creating workshop and that quiz will never manifest because the tech will stop me. So what might you offer as a bonus that will address and crush an objection that your prospects might be having? And how can you do that in a way that's affordable for you as well? The last thing you want to do is put forward a bonus that gets you a ton of sales but then costs you too much money or time or resources to fulfill. And that's something you definitely need to pay attention to, whether it's direct costs, like having to pay extra coaches to cover the cost of tech, like Ryan did, or whether it's your time. You want to make sure you don't put yourself on the hook for too much time. A classic mistake is to offer a free one-on-one session with you. But if you get 50 buyers, that's 50 one-on-one sessions you now have to find time for in your calendar. That's why I said, I'm doing it while we're experimenting with something that has lower numbers and while I have the capacity. But it's not a forever bonus. But the strategic part for me is that I get to have these one-on-one conversations, which just cements for me what objections our ideal clients have, what problems they have. So I have another reason for doing them. So the strategic part of strategic bonuses also applies to how much it costs you versus how much leverage you can get from it then and later. So that's in addition to addressing the objections of your buyers.
Yeah, great point. And you know, that type of thing, you know, which you've done, you've modeled so nicely, is with the one-on-one sessions, you've reserved it for the fast action bonus, that specific type of bonus where it's something you give right as you open your promotion or your campaign, or you make your offer on your webinar or whatever it is. And right at that point where you're presenting the offer, you bring in this fast action bonus for a limited time to just the first 10 buyers, or to anyone who buys before midnight today, or as Suzi modeled for us, anyone that buys in the next 2 hours, window of this webinar going live. And then it goes away. And this can be a great way to jumpstart your campaign without having to give your one-on-one time to everyone. This fast action bonus kind of contains the amount of time you spend. Or like what Suzi's doing, she's kind of using this to A, jumpstart the campaign, but B, gain a whole lot of intel that she can then use to either bring team in to do this or create other strategic bonuses, because now she understands a lot more about her audience. And I love it when a bonus goes away. Your customers don't. And that tension that they're feeling around the bonus going away actually is great for building urgency. And it's another great way to get people off the fence. So the bonus itself and addressing the objection, but also that bonus going away and the urgency people feel about booking today before that's gone, is another great way to get people off the fence. But we're talking specifically today about dealing with objections. And that's really the shift we've been talking about. Like, how do I make this offer easier to say yes to for the person who is right on the edge but still hesitating? And to help you wrap your mind around this concept even further, Suzi and I thought it might be useful to look at some examples of common objections. We've touched on a few of them, but we want to kind of systematically work through it, and how you might think about a bonus for you when this objection comes up for you that helps address and overcome and crush and neutralize. And a friend of ours sort of jokes around, you want to bury that objection and then dig it back up and crush it some more and bury it again, right? Like you really want to be really diligent in addressing these objections, because these objections are diligent with holding on in the mind of your customer. Our own fears really can have a grip on us. And so as the person making the offer, you want to be aware of that, and don't just, I think, Suzi, you used the word timid. Don't be timid about this. Be fierce, because you're making a stand for your client. What you can do will help that person. You kind of want to do everything you can to help them overcome these last thought viruses that are keeping them from taking action. So we've addressed a few of these objections already, but here are the top objections we see across almost any industry. And Suzi rightly said, like, whether you're selling a product, a service, whether you're selling to other consumers, whether you're selling to businesses, whether you are installing solar or swimming pools or beautician services or naturopathy or courses or memberships or high-ticket coaching programs, these objections are going to come up in the mind of your consumer. And we're going to really look at how you might use a bonus to overcome those.
Yes, we are. So let's start with one of the biggest, and this is one of the most universal buying objection, and that is, I don't have time. Now, this one's huge, especially if your clients are busy business owners, their parents juggling a number of children and other responsibilities. Anyone who's juggling a lot, and let's face it, that's probably just about everyone. They might want your offer, but they're thinking, this sounds great, but I don't have time to implement this right now. So the right bonus here is all about reducing that sense of time burden. And that might look like a fast start. So some way that gives people a jumpstart result, even though the full result may take longer. So for example, you might offer a 6-week course, but you can bonus in some kind of jumpstart that gets people an initial quick win, an initial result right from week 1. Or even a done-for-you element of some kind, like templates, plug-and-play scripts like we mentioned earlier, or the tech setup like we discussed in the example of Ryan and his quiz. And so with a bonus like this, you're basically saying, you don't need hours of spare time to get value from this. I've made it so easy for you to get results fast.
That was great advice. The fast, making it faster, taking the time pressure away is a really big one, and I love it. So let's look at objection number 2, another doozy. I'm not sure this will work for me. Yes, you've shown me 20 case studies and your years of experience, but I'm a special snowflake, and I think in my specific situation, it won't work for me. And what they're really saying is, I just can't figure out how to map this solution to the quirks of my life and what's going on. It's hard. It can be hard for all of us to do that. So this is all about addressing the self-doubt someone might be experiencing and giving them a sense of this being personally relevant to their specific situation. So as you're thinking about your bonuses, if you know this is something that's a hot button for your clients, how might you use a bonus to address self-doubt, to make what you're offering feel more personally relevant? Your buyer might believe in the idea, but they're not yet convinced it will apply to their specific situation. So great bonuses here can include that one-to-one customization call that we mentioned earlier, where you help them tailor the solution. And Suzi, you're really doing that in a way with that strategy call, right? Then look, this is great, Suzi, but I can't quite find my own way into it for my business. And you go, great, well, let me hop on a call with you and get you set up for success right from the start. It could be a use case library that shows examples of people like them with resources that they can use that are already somewhat tailored to their situation. Like, let's say you help tradespeople to market their businesses, but the plumber can't see how the example you shared of the electrician will work for them. So you might have like an area for plumbers, an area for electricians, an area for carpenters, and they might all be generally the same, but there might be a couple of little compliance things or templates that are a little bit different across the trades. And now they get it. Now they see, because you've joined the dots for them exactly how it works for electricians, even though they were seeing an example of a plumber. And it's funny, it can be these little things that you think are kind of obvious that hold people back. Never assume that people can join the dots. It might be access to a personalized action plan and a coach that's going to help them to create that action plan and to implement that action plan unique to their circumstances. Or maybe you realize there's a big group of people that have all got a very specific shared set of circumstances. Like they're special snowflakes, but there's lots of them that are the same special snowflake. Like, for example, Jeff Walker, who is the pioneer of the product launch formula, he teaches people how to launch their product into the market with a very specific marketing process. But he realizes he's got a lot of people saying, I'm not sure this is going to work for me because my situation is that I don't have a list, and everything you're talking about requires like getting people to watch your videos and join you in live Q&A calls and things like that. So what does he do? He creates a bonus that is a fast list building course. So it's about showing them, yes, this works, and here's specifically how it works for you and your situation.
Thank you. So good. And so let's have a look at objection number 3, which is I've tried something like this before and it didn't work. This is where you're dealing with a buyer who has been burnt before and they're nervous about going down this road again to solve the problem. Now, that burning could have been that they didn't take the action, or it could be that they were with a supplier that was just a bit dodgy. So here your note bonus needs to be focused on creating certainty for your buyer. It didn't work last time, but this time we've built in these no-fail bonuses. You're essentially saying we've anticipated what tripped you up before and we've solved it in advance. So the types of bonuses typically have these traits: immediacy, they're ready to use; tangible value, they feel like real deliverables; proven success, draw from something that has already worked for them; and ease of use. So no learning curve or overwhelm or anything that's going to get them stuck. These give the buyer a feeling of, I don't have to figure this out alone. I can just plug this in and get moving. This is already working somewhere else. And it can include some of the things we've mentioned before, swipe files. So for example, a high converting ad swipe file, where you can bundle in ads that have been used in live campaigns before, the copy, the creative, targeting nodes. And why this works is that it replaces I don't know what works with I'm using ads that have already worked and I'm modeling them. It could be proven templates. So for example, if you help people build online marketing funnels, you might offer a downloadable funnel page design that's already set up and formatted with placeholder content. So it's a template. And why it works is then they have zero tech overwhelm. They don't have to start with a blank screen. They just plug and play.
Yeah, love these examples. And I want to move on to objection number 4. And tell me if you've heard this objection. It's too expensive. I can't justify this investment right now. And of course, this is a common one. Although we know it's not always about money. Sometimes it's just about the value perception. Like, oh, it's that much. I haven't quite sort of realized how you're providing that much value back to me. Or sometimes it's justifying the purchase to someone else, like a spouse or a business partner who won't quite get it. In that case, a great bonus might be some kind of really high perceived value bonus, something that's really going to help them catch into the value, like access to a private community or that swipe file library that Suzi was talking about. Or a bonus where they can see that they can get a quick return on investment, that they can justify putting the money in because they can very quickly see how they're going to get that and more back later. And a great example of this is from Gillian Erskine, who is in our Marketing Success Mastermind. And in fact, we've done a whole case study on her offer, which we'll include a link to in the show notes. It's a recent episode. You definitely want to check it out if you're interested in learning more. She sells a membership called The Studio. It's specifically designed for piano teachers and helping them grow their business. And what she's done is something very clever with one of her bonuses. She gives them 10 free passes to this tool she has called Practice Buddy. Now, the teacher can sell those free passes for $50 each to students, and they're used to selling stuff to students. They sell music books and sheet music and things like that. So they can sell these Practice Buddy software passes, and if they sell all 10, that's $500 they'll make back. Now, it's only $500 for the whole year, or actually a little bit less, to be in Gillian's membership. So you can see how you can do that mental arithmetic for people and say, look, all you've got to do is sell these passes and you're going to get everything in the membership for free. You're going to get back a whole year of your membership investment. So think about ways you can increase the perceived value, where you can expedite some sort of ROI, or maybe there's a bonus strategy session that they can use to extract more value from you that's going to be the thing that tips them over.
I love Gillian's example. It's like, oh my gosh, why would you say no? So let's have a look at objection number 5, which is I'm overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. And this one often shows up subtly. People nodding along but not taking action. And it's often because they're stuck in decision paralysis. So great bonuses here might include a 7-day kickstart plan, a personal onboarding call or a strategy call like we're doing, or even a first 3 steps mini course designed to help them gain clarity and traction right away. The key here is to lower the activation energy. And by that, I mean what it takes for them to get going with what it is that you're offering. So you're helping them get unstuck and feel like progress is not just impossible, it's inevitable and pretty immediate.
Yeah. And like we've been saying all episode, it's not about more bonuses. It's about the right bonuses, the ones that tackle the real resistance your buyer is experiencing. And it takes making that leap into their shoes and really understanding that and being open to acknowledging that there will be objections and not trying to shove them under the carpet. And if you can match your bonuses to the actual concerns that are coming up in your sales conversations, in your webinars, in those cart abandonment moments, then you'll see a real lift in your conversions.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And as you think about your bonuses, here are a few quick steps. Go back and audit your current offer. What are the top 1 to 3 objections that your prospects have in buying that offer? Are your bonuses addressing those? And if not, create at least one new bonus that overcomes your buyer's biggest yeah, but excuse using some of the ideas that we've covered today.
Yes, and we would love to hear about your bonuses. So do let us know how you go. And you can leave, the best way to do it is to leave a comment over on our Facebook page. You just need to search for Content Sells on Facebook to find us to do that.
Absolutely. And speaking of sharing, we love to share these tips with business owners. You can see that everything we've talked about today goes deep into our knowledge bank, and we want to help as many women business owners as possible. So we would love it. What would really help us if you leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts. We have already got over 100 5-star reviews, but every single one of them is such an important part of making people aware of this show. So if you enjoyed today's episode, we would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts. Now, one person who left us a note left us a review really, is Emily Jane Saroff. She's the brand artist and she helps visionaries birth brands, so bring to life brands that feel like they're soul-aligned masterpieces. She says immersive, unforgettable, and magnetic. And she said, she's given us 5 stars, and she said, I love that this podcast focuses on conversion. Whereas so many content creation gurus might focus on virality, this is what really matters in the industry, especially if you're a service provider. There's such a great range of topics, and no matter what industry or stage of business you're in, you'll find strategies and tips that suit your needs. I can't even recommend a single episode. Just scroll through and you'll definitely find one and think, yep, I need that right now. Thank you so much. That is so nice of you, Emily Jane. Really, really appreciate it. So be like Emily Jane and leave us a rating or review. Now, anything we mentioned here today, we mentioned quite a few things we're going to put on our show notes page. That page is at herbusiness.com/how to use bonuses. Plus, over at that link, there's a special download that gives you all the 7 elements of a high converting offer, which we mentioned earlier, of which bonuses is one of those elements. And these important pieces ensure that every offer you put forward has all the elements to succeed. And so that's our hugely popular high converting offer blueprint for women business owners. And it's yours free over at herbusiness.com/how to use bonuses. Michelle, what do we have coming up next?
Our next episode is all about how to introduce a more expensive product or service to your product suite. So you might already be at a certain price point. What might you need to do to level up to another price point to offer that extra service that's going to make the most of the clients you're already getting, increase customer lifetime value, wash sort of more profit and sustainability into your business, enable you to work more deeply with those few people who will pay you more. And we're going to be exploring all of that and more in the next episode.
I'm very excited for that. That is coming up, as Michelle said, in the next episode. If you don't already subscribe, be sure to subscribe or follow wherever you are listening. Thank you so much for listening. We've really enjoyed putting this episode together for you, and we'll see you next time right here on the Content Sells podcast. Bye for now.